Hey everybody, welcome of buying, selling, and collecting with Paul on this Tuesday, election day. Have you voted yet? I did on Saturday. No lines, walk right in. You're all done voting. You take your little thing, you go back around, get a free slice of pizza. So it was worth it. So today we are going to talk about a topic that I think is important for everybody, and I am surprised at just how many people don't have it as an intricate part of their business, and that's insurance. Liability insurance, insurance to protect your stock, your business in general. So we have somebody important with us who I've seen on other podcasts and video casts, whatever you want to call them. Ashlin Hadden, uh, from her own insurance company, and she deals specifically with e-commerce business. So I think it's an important thing to have for your business because, I mean, the biggest thing that I feel that a lot of people don't do is they don't treat this like a business. Reselling, you're a business. Treat it like such. You need protection. Do you own your own home? And are you selling out of your home? Uh, you have car insurance, right? Why not business insurance? I can tell you of so many horror stories I've heard. Uh, you own your own home. You need what you got to do what you got to do to protect that home. So thank you for coming in, everybody. I don't want to waste too much time saying hello to everybody. Just hello in general. Thank you for being here. Grab those pens and pencils and notebooks. Take some notes. Let us go through the first half of the show with information, and then we'll open it up for questions because I'm sure people have a lot of different questions. So without further ado, Ashlin Hadden, correct?
Well, you just sold everything for me, so we're done here.
How are
Wow,
you
what an
doing?
introduction.
How are you doing?
Good.
Uh,
I enjoying the sunshine today in Indiana. It's actually beautiful out, so it's nice to be on here and meet your group here.
Excellent. I love the background. So I
Thank
guess that's where you
you.
do all the shows from, right?
Yep, I try to.
Now, do you have your own podcast or your own video show that you talk about insurance?
No, I'm not as cool as you yet. I'm struggling with
Yeah.
trying to figure out like content. Nobody wants to hear insurance talk 24/7, so I haven't done it yet. I hope to be able to do it sometime in the future, but not yet.
I would think, like Chris the Goose is on here. He says he has his insurance through you. Um,
Hey, Chris.
I would think that a great topic for your YouTube content channel would be insurance horror stories.
So I do talk about those quite a bit. So maybe, I mean, I don't really want to hear it all the time, but that would be kind of cool.
Well, there's a lot of things that I guess people just don't think about. Like one of the last things that came up for us, my wife used to sell Sensi. You know what Sensi is? Sensi is the little bars,
Yeah.
and they go into a warmer, and they're wax potpourri. And I said, we need to have liability insurance. My liability insurance won't cover this. And she said, well, why do we need liability insurance? I said, because what if you ship 5 of those bars and a little kid gets one and eats one and ends up in the emergency room?
Mm-hmm.
You're not covered. We're not covered. Big time problem. So we went nuts making little stickers for every wax pack. This is not a consumable product. But since then, she had stopped because I think there was a few other things. And I know the company won't take responsibility.
Right.
They're gonna say, well, hey, we have a third party seller that sells for us. So
And having a warning label is great. I have a lot of clients that say, hey, I sell something that can hurt someone. I'm going to throw a warning label on there and I'm fine. Yeah, having a warning label is great, but that's still not going to stop you from getting pulled into a lawsuit if there is one. So
and you
one of
got
the
to
big things
defend
you see
yourself.
that is like trampolines.
Yeah.
People get hurt on trampolines all the time. There's warning labels on every single trampoline about breaking your arms and breaking your necks, but that still doesn't stop people from suing. So unfortunately, even with warning labels and things like that, you still could be pulled into a lawsuit.
Right. Excuse me. I'm a real estate broker here in Florida, and I've told people that, when you buy a house that had a trampoline, I said, remove it, because there are companies that just won't write insurance if you have a
Yeah.
trampoline.
Yeah, we do a lot of homeowners here, and there's several companies that say, if you've got a trampoline, we're not interested in insuring you at all.
Wow. So now you do all kinds of insurance, but you
Except
focus
health.
on e-com?
Yeah, so we do, e-com is kind of our niche, but we also do the auto and home insurance too, and life insurance and umbrella and all the toys and your boat and car and all that stuff. So yeah, we do everything.
So you're a one-stop shop.
One-stop shop except health insurance. Don't ask me about health insurance.
Okay. But now is your specialty e-commerce businesses?
It is. Yep. So we've just gotten into this niche with e-commerce. This is probably my 5th year. So coming on our 5th year doing e-com.
And did you start that niche because you're a reseller also?
I am not.
Okay.
I considered doing it and realized how crazy you guys are and how much work is actually in this. And I was like, not for me. You guys
a lot of work.
eat and breathe and 60, 70, 80 hours a week with this stuff. I was like, all right, there's no way I can do this and insurance. Like, I'm going to have to pick my poison. So I kind of thought it was a conflict of interest because I do have to know what you're selling and where you're sourcing from and how much you're selling. And I really didn't want people to say, okay, well, you're taking this information and using it for your own good. So none of my staff is allowed to sell and I don't sell either.
Well, that's a good point. I never thought of it that way. That is a good point. So
no insider information on this side.
Yeah. Can you write insurance for every state?
Yes, every state except Hawaii.
Okay. So I put all your information, all her information is in the comment section. So if you want to contact her, email her office information, it's all in the comment section. But let's get right into it. So
awesome.
Let me take myself, I guess, because when I was back in Massachusetts, when I lived in Massachusetts, I had a store, I had a comic store, Comic Collectibles. So I'm in Massachusetts. I would do shows in Florida. I would do shows in London. Mostly I did shows in New Jersey and New York. So there would be times we'd pack up half the store, put it into a truck, drive it for the weekend to wherever we were going to. And at that time, my insurance covered me for theft and anything that happened, even at the show.
Yep.
Is that still, what kind of insurance is that called? Or, if somebody here is doing that today, like if they're setting up at a flea market weekly, or maybe even just once a month, or they're doing events like fairs or trade shows and stuff, what kind of insurance would they need to get for that?
So that's business personal property and property in transit. So that's separate from your general liability and product liability. So your general liability and product liability is going to cover what you do or say as a business. That's general. Product liability is going to cover what your products do to harm someone. Business personal property is going to cover your actual stock and inventory. Now, we extend liability on your business personal property to what's called off-premise. So if you take those items to a fair, you take those items someplace else, we add that to your policy. It's not standard typically on your policy. It's an addition to your policy.
Okay.
Now, if you have a warehouse off-premise, that's an additional insurance coverage that you would need too. So just remember, any place that you put your products needs to be insured. Don't assume that we know that you've got products in your basement and in your garage and at a warehouse and
an antique
you've got
mall?
it at a 3PL and you're at a swap meet too. You have to give your agent all of that information to be able to be protected the right way.
If you have a booth or booths at an antique mall,
Yep.
that would be an
Needs to be
additional
additional.
coverage. Okay.
Exactly.
And then
So I heard you talking earlier about homeowners insurance, and that's one of the big misconceptions that we hear almost on a daily basis, that people say, well, I have homeowners insurance, so my homeowners is going to cover my inventory.
Right.
Absolutely not. Your home is your home. That's your personal. Your business is business. Unless you can explain to your policy, your carrier, that you have a 1,000 toothbrushes because you like to brush your teeth with a new toothbrush time, they're going to know it's for a business and they're going to know you're lying and they're not going to cover it. So just remember, business is business, personal is personal. You got to keep those two separate.
Now, we do have somebody in the chat that said, when I announced that I was going to have you on, they said that they got their homeowners to cover it. And I said, I've been doing this for a long time myself. I said, I think maybe you just got a rider.
Potentially.
But not for business. I said, I have a rider for all my camera equipment because I was heavy into photography. I have a rider for animation art because I collect cells. I said, but I can't see how homeowners policy would cover business inventory and then liability for that inventory. So, and
your listener is still here. If you want to double check to make sure that it's right, feel free to email it to me. I'll take a look at it for you and say, yes, you have an anomaly that maybe they did cover it, or no, this isn't covered the way that you think it's going to be covered. I will absolutely give you the right information on that. So please feel free to email me that policy and just say, hey, I heard you on the podcast. You said that you would take a look at it for me. Here it is. Will you take a look?
And her email and contact information.
To make sure that your policy is correct.
Sorry, her email and contact information is all in the comment section under the video. So let's say that you have a reseller that said, all right, well, maybe I need to get this insurance coverage. Paul, I only see in the description area of the video her name and type of insurance, her information. It's in the comment section, Johnny. You just got to go down and click add, see more. Right under the video, not in the comments, not in the live chat, in the comments. So let's say you have a reseller, a eBay seller, Amazon seller, whatever, that wants to get coverage and start the year off right, since we're so close to the new year. Do they have to give you a whole inventory of what they have?
Good question. So we ask for the links to the platform. So if you are on Amazon, we look for the link to your Amazon storefront. If you have eBay, we look for your storefront on your eBay. So you don't have to give us like an Excel sheet of everything that you have, just the link to where we can see what your listings are. And why we do that is the carriers obviously want to see what you're selling, to one, make sure what you're selling is compliant with the platform that you're on. Two, because insurance is all about risk, and we got to see what you're selling so we can address your risk appropriately. And to make sure that there's not anything that the insurance carriers don't want to take the risk for. So if you're selling fidget spinners with knives on the end of it, probably are going to ask you to remove that. Things like that. So we just look for the link to what you're selling so we can see what you're selling.
Okay. There's just
but I promise we make it easy. Really, really easy.
They're not seeing your information. So let me just put it in the chat. It is there, everybody. But it's there now. It's in the chat. And Rosie's Closet said they covered it in my home and my storage unit. My liability insurance is separate. So I can't see how they would do that. But like you said, it could be an anomaly.
Right.
That they would do that. But I guess what I try to understand is, let's say January 1st, I bring you on to do my insurance, and and of course, now, do I need insurance if I'm doing Amazon FBA, which means I'm shipping everything to Amazon?
Absolutely.
And it's not here?
So per your terms of service, you actually, excuse me, you actually signed in your terms of service, if you're a pro seller, that you currently have insurance and that you will continue to keep insurance as you are selling on the platform. So if you don't have insurance currently as a pro seller on Amazon, you're actually breaking terms of service. So
Okay.
if you're selling on Amazon, absolutely you've got to have a policy. Amazon or eBay has not come out with those requirements yet. Wayfair has those requirements, but they're not policing them either. But if you're moving to like another platform, like if you want to sell on Walmart, you want to sell on Bed Bath & Beyond, you want to sell on some of these bigger platforms, they absolutely require it, and you have to prove it up front to get onto those platforms.
Right. Yeah, I had to do it on Amazon. I hope eBay does it, because I think it'll get rid of how does a good politically correct way to say it? The lousy sellers. But what I was getting at, so January 1st, okay, Ashlin, we're going to do a new policy. I've been doing this for a couple of years haphazardly, and I want to do it right. Here is my current inventory. However, I did the same thing last year. My inventory started at $20,000, but then it fluctuated all the way down to $5,000. And it took me months and months to get it back up. Does that affect your insurance coverage or rate at all when that happens?
So the amount of insurance does affect your rate. But what I always say is think about Q4. Think about when you're ramping up, you're ready to enter the Christmas season. What is the max amount that you are going to have in inventory? That's the amount that we should cover. Going from $5,000 in inventory to $7,000 in inventory or $10,000 in inventory isn't going to break the bank. So it's not worth only getting $5,000 from the insurance company if you had $10,000 of inventory. So I always say Q4, what's your max? That's what we should be insuring for. Because insurance is only going to make you whole. They're never going to make you better. So if you've got $5,000 in inventory, we're going to give you the $5,000. We're never going to give you the $10,000. So just keep that in mind. Have the coverage that you need at your max capacity. That's my advice. Don't ever go for the $5,000 if you typically have $10,000 in inventory.
Okay. And now Rosie's Closet says, I only sell clothing. Does that make a difference?
You still need the liability insurance with products completed. So the big thing that we see with clothing is skin reactions. So somebody comes in and says, hey, I've got this reaction on my arm. I bought this from Rosie's, and she must have bought it from someplace overseas, and there's pesticides on it, and it's giving me a skin reaction, and now I have to go to the hospital, and I have to do all this stuff. So that's the biggest thing we see with clothing. The other thing that we see is that you don't have to actually be responsible for somebody's injuries to be pulled into a lawsuit. And what I mean by that is people can be stupid and still pull you into a lawsuit. Now, you might not end up paying the $1 million in liability for it, but the insurance carrier still has to defend you from that lawsuit. So let me give you an example of one that we went through about a year ago. Somebody bought something on Amazon, shipped it to his house. He walked out in the afternoon, tripped over the box, broke his hip and broke his clavicle, sued Amazon, sued UPS, and sued our client. Our client had nothing to do with this idiot tripping over a box, but he was still pulled into that lawsuit. And that carrier had to defend him from that lawsuit. And it was over $30,000 in legal fees just to get his name dropped from the lawsuit to say that he was not responsible for this person tripping over a box.
Wow.
So, Rosie, yes, you only sell clothing, but that doesn't stop someone from being an idiot and tripping over your box, or someone saying that the skin irritation is from your clothing, or somebody saying that their child got strangled on your shirt, or whatever. They can say whatever they want, and you have to defend yourself from that lawsuit.
Wow. That's crazy.
We live in a very litigious country.
We do. We definitely do. We definitely do. Has there been any weird things that you have seen since COVID happened?
I mean, we got a lot of claims from COVID. Just, hey, this product gave me COVID, or
Oh my God.
oh yeah, the masks. We have a lot of clients selling masks, and hey, your client sold me a mask, and I ended up getting COVID anyways. Hand sanitizer the same way. I have been using this hand sanitizer, and now I have skin irritations, and I have open sores, and I got COVID, and your clients, said that it was going to protect me from COVID, and
Oh man.
kind of stupid stuff.
So do those just get filed in the black file?
I mean, the carriers still have to look at it.
Wow. Wow. Yeah, I remember being in the office. That goes in the black file. And my new assistant said, "What do you mean the black file?" I said, "You see that trash bin next to you? That's the black file."
I love it, Paul. We're just going to store that one over here.
That is crazy. Penny Day, welcome in everybody. Thank you definitely for being here. Share this out. I know there's a lot of things that are going to come up in the discussion that a lot of people aren't aware of. Do you have insurance to cover poultry farms? What about an event rental business?
Yes, to both. So we do all types of business. So we specialize in e-commerce, but that's not just because that's the only thing we do. We have all kinds of insurance. We have tons of event planning. We have tons of restaurants and bars and mom and pops. We have 3PLs. I mean, we have from the gamut, here to here.
Wow. How did you get into insurance?
Kind of. I have a chip on my shoulder. So I was in banking first, and I was moving to the Indianapolis area, and one of my friends said, "Hey, Liberty Mutual is hiring. You should go sell insurance." And I was like, "I don't want to be a used car salesman. I'm not interested. No, thank you." And she's like, "Well, if you take the interview, my friend gets like $50. So can you just interview for it?" Like, fine, whatever. So I interviewed for it, and the guy said that this was a man's industry and that those men out there would outsell me every day. So I was like, I'll take the job, and I'm going to prove you wrong.
Wow.
So that's kind of how I got into insurance. And then I just kind of started to fall in love with helping people and protecting them the right way, because I didn't know anything about insurance before I got into it. And then I had a client that sold on Amazon and said, "Hey, and Amazon's requiring us to have this insurance. Can you help me?" And I was like, "I don't know anything about e-com. None of the carriers like e-commerce people. You guys are crazy. No, thank you." And he kept bugging me. So I ended up doing it. And he came back and said, "Hey, I've got this Facebook group, and there's 15,000 of us in here that need this insurance. Can I post your information?" And then I snowballed from there. And I started getting asked to go to the conferences and speaking at conferences. And I kind of just fell in love with your guys' craziness and just your
thrill of the hunt.
Other people.
Yep. It's all about the thrill of the hunt for everybody. Buying something
for
$1 and selling it for $20. Yeah. So there's no special test or anything like when I got my my realtor's license, and then my broker's license. No
Oh no, I had to go
special.
through all the tests.
Oh, okay.
And then since I'm licensed in every state, then I had to go through and get licensed in every state too.
Get a federal test, right?
Each individual state. So a lot of them did reciprocity where I could, as long as I tested in my own state, that I could get the license in the other states, but I have to pay for licensing in every single state as an individual and as an agency. So it's
pretty expensive. Yeah, I just renewed my license. It's like, damn.
Now try doing that in 50 states.
Yeah, no, I tried. I was going to go to Massachusetts, where I'm from, to because of reciprocity, to get my license. They said, all you got to do is pass the test. I said, are you kidding me? You know how different the laws are between Florida and here?
Mm-hmm.
You know, we have things that you don't talk about. You have things that we don't have cellars and basements and stuff.
Right.
So I didn't do it. I don't know. I think this reselling thing, I've been doing it for 25 years now, even before I was a realtor. And I think this is my last gig, my last hurrah, I guess you want to call it.
Yeah.
Reseller man, I don't think that's a question we can answer. He's the long shot, but what's the average cost for insurance for 20 grand worth of inventory?
All right. So I get this question all the time. My short answer is it depends. It really is going to depend on what you're selling, where you're sourcing from, and how much you're selling. If you're doing $250,000 in sales versus $1 million in sales, there's going to be a huge difference in premium. If you are just reselling other products and you're about $250,000 for the general liability and product liability, most people end up in the like 600-ish range. Now, don't quote me, because it is absolutely different on what state you're in and what you're selling. And then to add on top of that, your business, personal property, your inventory is usually a couple $100 for $10,000 in coverage. So the more coverage you add, of course, the more expensive it's going to get. The more you sell, the more expensive you're going to get. But for a general liability, product liability with, what do you say, $20,000 inventory, you should be around $800 to $1,000 for the entire year. Now, if you're selling high risk things, it might be a little bit different, but most people end up in that $600 to $800 a year range.
Nice. Now, Penny Day has that question that you probably get asked minimum probably once or twice a day, if not several times a week. What is the best life insurance to get?
So the one you get before you die?
Well, I mean, do you do like whole life? Do you do
absolutely.
What's the other one that you just pay?
Term life.
Term.
It depends on your situation. Again, going back to it, it depends on what you're doing. If you've got a lot of debt, I like to stack my term life with my whole life. So my whole life is going to cover something that I want to keep for my entire life. So that's kind of what I use to leave my legacy. If I want to leave $500,000 to my kids, that's what I'm going to leave in whole life. My term is going to cover the things that have terms to it. I've got a 10-year loan for my car. I have 15 years left on my student loans. I have a 30-year mortgage, things like that. So those are the term policies are going to cover those things that are going to expire at some point. My whole life, I'm going to keep my whole life. So the way I look at life insurance is we go through and we talk about what you have short-term, what you have long-term, and we kind of stack those policies. There's no reason to pay for $1 million in coverage for your entire life if you don't want to leave $1 million to somebody else. If you only need $500,000 for 10 years, then let's get $500,000 for 10 years and whatever, $500,000 for whole life. So it really depends on your situation and what you have in debt and what you want to leave as a legacy.
Why is, because I remember in the past, I used to have a whole life policy, and there was like a stigmatism about whole life policies, that it was just a moneymaker for the company, or is that just certain companies or is that way back that when they used to do them?
I think that's that one financial planner guy, because he wants you to something and invest the rest, so that if you would invest it the right way, then you wouldn't have to have whole life insurance.
Oh, I don't know. I don't remember. It was just,
What is his name?
there used to be shows and stuff on TV about it way back when, watch out for whole life. Watch out. They just come to your house, ringing the doorbell. They want to buy a whole life policy. It's like, all right, really?
I mean, people think that insurance in general is stupid to do, but it's not stupid when they pay out and actually help you when you get in a car accident and they fix your car, or your house burns down and they replace your house.
Or in Florida, you have a hurricane and it's $25,000 worth of damage.
Exactly.
That happened to my rental property, and thank God for insurance. Although I got rid of that insurance company after everything was done.
Right.
6 months dealing with them, going through everything was really bad.
And here's the good thing about e-commerce insurance. Everyone knows that insurance companies don't like to pay out. It's a known fact. Insurance companies don't like to pay out. So when you get an e-commerce policy and you're listed in a stupid lawsuit, they have the best darn attorneys to try to get you out of that lawsuit so they don't have to pay. So that's a great thing about having something like this, is they're going to represent you and they're going to fight tooth and nail to make sure that your business isn't held liable for something like this.
Good point. Cajun Roots, is bonding insurance needed for this type of business of reselling? I carried bonding insurance when I had other businesses in Louisiana, which they require me to.
No, so the big things with reselling is general liability and product liability with business personal property coverage, which is your inventory. The other big thing that we see a lot with resellers is sourcing in your own vehicle. So again, business is business, personal is personal. If you have a personal vehicle and you're using it for business use and you get in an accident on business time, your personal insurance could deny your claim because you were on business time and you're not telling your personal insurance that you have a business, that you're using your personal vehicle for business.
Wow, good.
So keep that in mind. If you are sourcing in your vehicle, one, call your insurance company and say, hey, I am using this for business use. And if they have an endorsement for business use, add that endorsement to your policy. If they don't, get a commercial auto policy. That's going to cover you for what you're doing on your business. And it's a tax write-off then.
Right. Very good point. I remember one time, halfway in my real estate career, I went to AAA because they had my car insurance at the time. And I says, I have to re-up my insurance. And he said, all right, we just have to take a look at the vehicle. And I had, normally agents have these little friggin' magnets on the side of the doors. I'm not your typical agent. So mine was the whole door. And the guy says, obviously, you're a real estate agent. I said, yeah. He says, you need commercial plates and everything. And I said, no. And we went back and forth. Listen, I know better. I don't take anybody in my car. I meet them at the property. I will never take anybody. And he said, still, you're using it for business, now advertising. And we went back and forth, and yeah, they wanted me to get a commercial insurance policy with it.
That's good. It looks like Roots reseller said that this is why she has they have two different cars. I use one for business and one for personal. I reported on my insurance and taxes. Yeah, as long as you've got one insured for business and one for personal, that's great.
Yeah. I have my eBay and quilting business, which I run them both, which takes all the basement. Do I have to get insurance for both, or can I get a combined policy?
That's a really great question. It depends on how you set up the entities. Insurance protects the business. So if you have your quilting business is one EIN and you do your taxes for that one, and your eBay is another one and you do a separate EIN and taxes for that one, then you need two insurance policies. But if you have the same EIN and it runs through the same taxes, then you only need one policy because it's one business. Now, same thing with like selling on multiple platforms. If you have Amazon, eBay, Wayfair, Jet, all of these different platforms, and it's the same EIN and the same taxes, you only need one policy. But if you set up separate entities for each of these platforms, you really need a policy for each of these different business entities.
Yep. Now, just in case people don't know what an EIN is, that's your federal tax ID for your corporation or whatever.
Yep.
I have mine as Antonelli Enterprises, and any business I open up is under that corporation. So, but everything's insured and everything under Antonelli Enterprises.
And I mean, of course, talk to your tax advisor, but we have a lot of clients who do reselling and private label. It's like they'll say, okay, we started in reselling, we decided that we want to do a private label product. We advise you to separate those two as two separate entities, because your private label product is going to be more likely to get sued and actually be liable for that lawsuit versus your reseller. So if you've got you're selling $1 million, if you leave those together, we're going to rate you at $1 million in sales. You separate those two out and you're only doing $250,000 in private label, then we're going to rate that at $250 private label and $750 on the resellers. So it saves you a crap ton of money, and it kind of just splits that risk, because this private label is probably going to be more risky. So you can do the same thing with your reselling. If you're selling a really, really high risk product like used baby items, that absolutely should be create a separate entity for that, because those are the high risk products that are probably going to be sued, and you don't want to lose everything that you've worked for, maybe only lose a portion of it.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, I've even sold condos and second homes to people, and they don't take them in their personal name. They take them under a corporation.
Yeah.
I have one guy that bought 10 or 12 homes from me, and every one it's 123 Main Street LLC, 35 Broadway LLC, because it's a business for them. So they do it the same way.
And okay, so high risk items, anything that goes on the body, in the body, for a child or for a pet. You sell any of those are your highest risk items that you could sell. Okay, so keep that in mind as you're sourcing, that you're not overloading on those. On the body, in the body, for a pet, and for a child. For some reason, we like our kids and our pets.
Yeah, I would do anything for my baby. Right, Maddie? So there must be, right now there's a huge influx of CBD oil products.
Yeah.
Huge influx of CBD. You can't go to any store and not see a whole display of CBD oil and stuff.
We have a special program for CBD products. Yeah,
but there's a lot of people importing a lot of that stuff from China too. And then doing the private label stuff.
Yep. And vitamins. Vitamins and supplements have been really big lately too.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, people don't want to get COVID, I guess, right?
Right. The zinc, I think it was zinc, and what's the other one? Vitamin B?
Vitamin B, yeah. I got to admit, zinc, if you haven't done zinc, I just get the Walmart brand, not to get off topic totally. Zinc really works. My wife and I are amazed. It just works, and it's like a chewable tablet. I don't know why. We don't do the CBD, but I know people that do. I know people, you go into their house and, oh, you want some? No. Anything hurt? No, I'm good. Penny, do your kids get taxed on a whole life policy?
No.
Oh, they don't?
No. Mm-mm. It's a post-tax.
Ah.
You pay for it post-tax.
And Johnny is under a DBA. Johnny. B12, Rhonda said.
Yeah.
So if anybody in the chat, thank you for coming. Do you have any questions? Any questions on insurance? Should I, would I, could I? My reselling business, I'm thinking of importing massive quantities from Hong Kong and putting them up onto Amazon FBA January 1st when the restrictions are done. Can I do that? Should I do that? Would I do that? I'm thinking of private labeling my own brand of CBD oil. Do I need insurance? I mean, I tell everybody, man, you own your own house and you're in your own business. You got to do what you got to do to protect your assets, your house, because the first number when people say I'm going to sue, the first number they think of is $1 million.
Right.
Um,
The big thing is, like, stop thinking of yourself as an online business. If you were a brick and mortar store, you would not think twice about having an insurance policy.
Right.
This isn't a side hustle. Maybe it's a little bit of a side hustle, but it's still a business. You need to act like a business owner and protect yourself like a true business.
Exactly right.
It is a side hustle. It's a business. And we've seen statistics on online retailers is that it's more likely to be sued when they don't have that face-to-face interaction. They think they're suing Amazon. They think they're suing eBay. So they think they have these big, huge pockets. What they don't realize is they're suing Ashlin from Kokomo, Indiana, or they're suing Paul, who's a realtor. They don't realize that there's third-party sellers that are doing this. They think it's Amazon. And they think that they're going to like sue this person and get millions and millions of dollars for a little scratch on their arm. Right. So statistically speaking, you're more likely to be sued because you don't have a brick and mortar store and that you're just this, behind the scenes person who works on their computer. So stop thinking of yourself like that and think of yourself as a true business.
Right. And I say that all the time. Can you explain an umbrella policy?
Yeah. So your umbrella policy is exactly what it sounds like. Here's my general liability policy, and your umbrella sets on top of it. You go through your $1 million in coverage on your general liability policy, and then your umbrella picks up the additional coverage. So you can have $1 million GL and $1 million umbrella and have $2 million of coverage. You can also increase your base policy to $2 million. You can have a $2 million umbrella, or you can have a $2 million and a $1 million. Depends on what you're doing. I always say at least your sales, if not your sales, times 2. So if you're doing $1 million in sales, then you need to have $2 million in coverage.
And an umbrella is totally separate policy from your regular.
Correct.
Okay.
And that gives you that extra bit of coverage without having to buy a whole nother $1 million in general liability.
Okay. Now, I don't know if you have it there, and you said you do auto insurance too.
Mm-hmm.
Here, and I don't know if it's I know we have people from every state in here. Here, Allstate has been advertising like crazy, and I don't know, I imagine it's from COVID. Only pay for what you use, car insurance.
Mm-hmm.
You don't drive much because you're home, you're working from home now. Only pay for what you use.
Yep.
So I called my insurance guy. I said, listen, I insured my convertible, and I says, I've had it now 1.5 years. I put 10 miles on it. Do you have that insurance would pay for what you use? And he said, no. He says, but I don't know anything about it. We don't write for Allstate. He says, I'm sure you're not going to get full coverage, whatever. He says, but 10 miles, what the hell are you insuring it for?
Because one of those 10 miles you could get in an accident. That's why you're doing
it. So, do you know what that is, that pay for what you use?
Yes. So typically what they do with that, I do write for Allstate. They do what's called like IntelliDrive, and they add this device to your car. It like snaps in underneath your.
Yeah, not on my car. It won't. Oh, I have a 1980. It's a classic.
Oh, okay. Or they have an app.
Yeah, it would be an app. Yeah.
So what they're looking for is how much miles you actually are doing, how fast you accelerate, how much you slam on your brakes, how much you're using your phone while you're driving, those types of things. And then they kind of rate you on that. They say that your premium can't go up because of what the data they're gathering. I'm not 100% sold on that. All they're saying is, okay, well, you did only drive 10 miles a week, so we can reduce your miles driven per year to X amount and then reduce your policy a little bit. We're not seeing huge changes in people's premiums because of it, because it's not a huge rating factor in determining what your rate is on the auto insurance.
Okay. Yeah, I just thought, like, I hear it all the time, like 20 times a day. They're really pumping that commercial out. It's just
Yeah, it's just a way to get you to switch.
What was that?
It's just a way to get you to try to switch. To
I guess, yeah. I get more sick of those than the political commercials. I'm glad after today those will be done.
Well, the good thing about trying to use like a broker is that we get to shop those for you. So we've got 30 different carriers. We get to shop that, find you the best rates, find you the best coverage. And then when you're tired of Allstate, or you're tired of State Auto, or you're tired of Progressive, then we get to divorce them and find a different carrier, and we get to stay together. So where you go to like an Allstate agent, all they quote is Allstate, and that's all you're going to get.
Right. Now that's what I did want to tell you, and I'm glad you brought it up, because I told that to somebody in the chat on one of my shows before, and they said, "You're crazy." Every year, because I'm with a broker, I have all my insurances requoted, because you never know. Like you said, somebody might give you a better deal. They might offer more now, and you're just saying, "Yeah, just renew." But no, you go and shop it all.
I mean, that's what insurance companies do. I say every 3 years, you've got to get your insurance shopped, because that's how insurance works. You get you in at a lower price, and you raise it a little bit and raise it a little bit and raise it a little bit until you're like, all right, this is it. I'm done. No more raises. And then you shop and find someplace else. So if you haven't had your personal auto insurance quoted in 3 years, it's definitely time to start looking.
Yes. Let's see. Cajun Roots. His name is Johnny. That is why no matter what type of business I have, I always have insurance, because of people like a family member who loves to sue for the smallest thing we could not even think of suing someone for.
Like tripping over a box.
Yep. Okay. Johnny, do you give this person nice Christmas presents too, so he doesn't sue you? Penny, because you have to have insurance in Georgia in order to get a tag.
License tag.
Yeah, they call them tag offices down here too, and I don't get it myself. I'm still like, you mean the license plate? No,
DMV.
That's like when I first came down here, I said, where do we throw the rubbish? The what? The rubbish? What's rubbish? Trash? Yeah. Rosie's Closet, at what point would you recommend someone get insurance? 10K in sales, 20K in sales, 10K in inventory? I think maybe can I answer that question?
Yeah.
When you called it Rosie's Closet?
Before your first sale, because your first sale could be the idiot who trips over a box. And as far as inventory, when you can't afford to lose your stock. If you've got $1,000 in inventory or $5,000 in inventory, and you said, hey, if my house burns down tomorrow, I'm okay, I can replace it, then fine, self-insure. But if you've got $5,000 or $10,000 in inventory, and it would be a financial burden if your house burned down, then insure it. When you can't self-insure, to afford to self-insure, then that's when you should have insurance.
Now, when let's say Rosie's Closet just started today, and she called you. She said, "Hey, I got 10,000 in inventory." Does she have to give you receipts for everything she purchased?
Good question. So not up front. Now, remember I said insurance is there to make you whole, not to make you better. So in the instance of a claim, they're going to ask for proof that you owned these things. So what I would give my clients advice is like, hey, wherever your inventory is, go down there every quarter or so and just kind of take a video of it. And you can send that video to me and I'll keep it on file. You can send it to a business partner. You can send it to your attorney. You can send it to the cloud. I don't care where you send it, but have a copy of it. And if you want us to reimburse you for what you've spent, then you better keep darn good receipts. And don't keep your receipts where you keep your inventory, because if it's down, then you have nothing to prove. Kind of just like your auto. We have to be able to prove what your car's worth for us to reimburse you. Same thing with your inventory. You've got to keep receipts of what you're buying so we can reimburse you for those losses.
So how are your clients maintaining receipts? Is because at one point the Neat machine was like really, really popular.
That's a little scanner thing.
Yeah, it's just I have one on the shelf and I have never hooked it up. You just take your Goodwill, Walmart, Target. It goes in to the machine, it scans it, and it brings it up into a program, and then you say it's for this, it's for that,
Yep.
and it's all in a file.
Or your CPA. What are you sending to your CPA? That's fine too. I mean, you've got to just have to prove they're not going to take your word for it.
Right. Yeah, because I know some people will come with a shoebox or 2 shoeboxes. Here is everything I bought last year. Figure it out.
And that's fine as long as it doesn't get burnt down in the fire.
Right. Right.
As long as you can prove that this is what you had and this is what burnt. I've been through a fire claim on my house, and it was the worst experience I've ever had to go through. So I'm super, super big on it. Like, you had to go through and say, in this drawer, I had a toothbrush, a toothpaste, 472 Q-tips, 600 maxi pads. Like, you literally had to list out how many of everything that you had to your best guess. How many towels, how many pair of socks, how many underwear, all of that stuff you had to list out. And if you forgot to list it, you didn't get paid for it.
Wow.
So it's a really, really hard process to go through when you have a fire or even a theft.
Yeah, somebody always told me, if you're going to go away and your house is going to be empty for a while, walk the entire house, take a video.
Yep.
And put it in a safe deposit box or,
every
somewhere.
drawer, every closet, every nook, every cranny, because it's hard to remember all the crap that you have.
That's very true. I did that, I think, once. And yeah, it's amazing. Like an hour later, it's like, man, we're not even done yet. And it's
right. And as long as you send that to somebody to make sure that you're protected if something were to happen.
Wow. BMOS, welcome in. I had Geico for 30 years. You couldn't pay me to go anywhere else.
Good.
Go down every year. Wow, when I was in Massachusetts, they weren't allowed to sell insurance there. I don't know why. I don't think they're here either. I always take pictures, Johnny. I always take pictures of all my items I have listed in my inventory. I keep my inventory on a spreadsheet. Johnny is good. He shows his spreadsheet all the time. From listed, sold, and bought. I still use my Neat. It is great.
And then do you keep your spreadsheet in the cloud somewhere? So if your laptop gets stolen, it's someplace else?
No, it's on his desk right next to him.
Yeah, so make sure you send that somewhere.
Yeah. He shows it all the time. Nope, I sold this, and this is what it cost.
Johnny, send that to somebody or send it to the cloud.
Yeah. He says, I have over 45,000 in inventory and another 50,000 worth to list. I keep a paper trail. Paper burns.
And people sue.
Wow. All right, BMOS, thank you. Thanks for coming in. Anybody else, you have any questions? We have a few minutes. Put them in the chat.
And then if you guys have any questions while you're outsourcing, I'm on Facebook. I think Paul put my information on there. It's Ashlin D. Hadden. If you're outsourcing and you have a question, just shoot me a Facebook message and say, hey, Ashlin, I was on Paul's podcast. I'm thinking about sourcing this, or, I really like this item. What do you think? Feel free to shoot me a Facebook message anytime. I'm always on Facebook. I'm always around. If I'm sleeping, I'll text you back when I wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning with my dog. So,
Wow. Like me.
if you guys have questions, please feel free to reach out.
And now, earlier you had mentioned you that I got the idea. What you were saying is it makes a difference where you source.
Yes.
How? Why? What makes a difference where you source?
If you're sourcing from China versus sourcing from the US, it's going to be a difference in price. Their quality control typically isn't as good as it is here in the US. So that does affect your rate.
Okay. But I mean, if you're sourcing Walmart clearance or Goodwill, it's the same.
That's about the same. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm talking more like what country you're sourcing from.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I wasn't sure. I wasn't sure if I was getting that correct.
Yeah.
Johnny says he keeps it on a hard drive and it's in my safe.
There you go.
Cool. He didn't say his safe is made of wood though, so
Burn, baby, burn.
So anything else that we should know about insurance for our business?
Shipping. So we kind of talked a little bit about your transit. If you're in you're sourcing and you are in your vehicle, and let's say you go to Target and you have got $5,000 worth of inventory, and then you go into Walmart and someone steals the $5,000 worth of inventory, a lot of people, again, think that's going to be covered under your personal auto insurance. It's not covered under your personal auto insurance. You do have to have that transit coverage that we talked about earlier. So that's another big thing that we worry about. We talked a little bit about life insurance earlier. There is also called a key man life insurance. That is a tax write-off. So let's say Paul and I are in business together, and I pass away, and Paul is going to have a financial hardship in our business, trying to replace me, trying to get things updated, hiring help, stuff like that. This key man life insurance policy would pay the business to help continue to run the business. So it's kind of like a business continuity plan that you can take out on each other. I could take one out on Paul, Paul could take one out on me, and the business pays for it. So that's really, really great if you have a business partner that you really rely on to help your business move forward. That's a really great policy to have too. So those Excellent. Are two other big ones that I would definitely recommend looking into.
Excellent. And Penny was going to ask this too. I don't think she asked, is it cheaper to have all the insurance with the same company? I don't think it's cheaper. It's convenient.
Sometimes you can get a multi-policy discount. So you can get a discount for having your auto and home with the same carrier. Some carriers allow you to have auto home in your business and give you a discount on your auto and home. So sometimes some carriers have that, but it is absolutely convenient having one phone number to call for your agent versus, your auto and home at one place, your boat at another place, your hurricane at one place, and your business policies and work comp someplace else.
Right. I used to have all my insurance with one person, and then after a few years, they couldn't write a rental, and so that's when everything started to separate. But Swamp Picker, thanks for coming in. What's the top item, I guess, that people get sued on found at garage sales? I don't know if you know that.
Same thing, on the body, in the body, for a pet or for a kid. Those are the top items people get sued over. No matter where you source from, those are your top items.
Okay. Well, I know I'm planning to go home next year. And I mean Massachusetts, more than likely New Hampshire. I'm definitely going to call you because this is like the fourth time I think I've heard you now, and I like the way you operate and stuff. So I'm definitely going to call you instead of calling friends up there saying, who do you use for insurance? And do they know about reselling business? So I'll definitely be calling you.
That's a big thing I say. Like if somebody says I sell FBA and the agent says, what's FBA? I'm like, run the other way. If they don't know what FBA is, run the other way. You need an agent who knows your business and how to protect it the right way.
Yeah.
It's a totally different type of policy than a brick and mortar policy. So you need an agent who knows what you know and doesn't do what you do.
Exactly. Yeah, Penny says, I'm going to sue for all the texts I'm getting about voting.
Oh my goodness.
I told my wife, I says, I can't, well, I said, I'll tell you what I told the last person that said, vote for this person. I told him to F off on the text and I just deleted it.
I'm tired of it. One more day.
Yeah, it's like, all right, enough is enough. I'm going to vote for somebody. Just leave me alone.
Right. I just started saying yes to everyone who called. Yep, sure, I voted for him. Yep, sure, I voted for her.
Yeah.
Yep, sure.
I can't wait until another 2 hours or 3 hours, and well, who knows? It could be another month from now.
It's not going to be over tonight.
No, as long as the ads are done. I think the ads are done today, right? No more. He lied, she lied, they lied, whatever. I don't care.
Now it's going to be he cheated, she cheated, they cheated.
Right. Exactly.
Ow.
All I know is 23 more days is Black Friday. Are there any insurance Black Friday deals?
How about this? Just for you, we haven't discussed this. Anyone who listens to this podcast and mentions this podcast will get 50% off the agency fee. How about that?
Oh, wow. There you go, people.
Okay, but you got to mention this podcast.
Thank you. Thank you very much. There you go, everybody. Start saving right away.
Get insurance.
Well, Ashlin, I really appreciate you coming on. This was a lot of great information. I hope everybody took a lot of notes. I know I took a lot of mental notes, and I'll be watching this over again myself.
Perfect.
And I'll definitely, because I'm planning on probably having a store, getting back into retail when I get back home.
I see all that stuff behind you.
Yeah, that's
those are pretty expensive collectibles back there, Paul.
there is. That's my Beatles stuff and my action figures. That's what happens when you're a 42-year collector dealer. I tell everybody I opened my first store in 1979, so I've been doing this for a while. But
get it in.
yes. Oh, I have riders on all this stuff. I even have riders, which is crazy. I have riders on my jewelry that's kept in the bank vault, whatever you call those boxes.
Absolutely.
That is just his toys. But thank you very, very much. This was great. I really appreciate it. A lot of great information. Hopefully we could do this again.
Absolutely.
I don't have 15,000 people like Casey yet, but I'm getting there. So thank you, Ashlin. Her information is in the comments. I put it in the chat, everybody, and I'll put it there again. I think maybe after the video stops, you could read the comments and it'll be there. But I'll have it anytime you need it. So thank you for coming in. Thank you for being here. And I will see you tomorrow.
Bye, guys. Thank you.